Hello, and welcome to Ambassadors of Recovery Radio. I am your co-host, Desiree Villalpando.
And I am your host, Anthony Delatorre. Miranda's out this week. She'll be with us next time. We got the OG squad.
It's been a little bit since we've come together to film an episode. There's been a lot of changes going on with each one of us individually. So maybe we'll do a quick check-in. What have you been up to? Anything new? Any changes going on with you?
Yeah, I got, I would say on all fronts, personally, family, work, Miranda will be able to share more when she joins us on the work aspect of it, and I'll let her share her part. But yeah, it's just been overwhelming. There's a lot of changes.
Yeah.
I'm sure before you left where you're at the insurance, it's just done a whole bunch of right. And it's just
my
out of
gosh.
control, and
Yeah.
they're wanting there's just prior authorizations needed for everybody and everything for placement.
And then not paying as much, right?
Yeah, and then
So more work, less pay,
yeah, and then
leading to a higher turnover because it's already a difficult, overwhelming job.
Yep. And I would say, without going too much into my personal beliefs before we're out at the clinic, it is, I love what I do. I just don't want anyone ever to try to hold that as, how do I say this right? I don't want anybody to ever hold that in a realm where that I should be grateful because I'm helping people. Doesn't if that makes sense? I for sure got into this because I want to help people, but at the same time, I need to help myself as well.
Put yourself first, yes.
We all have dreams. We all have goals in life. I have aspirations. I want to create a safe secure journey for my kids, and I want to have a house, and everybody has these dreams.
Yes.
And the way I can get there is by continuing to progress in my career, and at the end of the day, money makes things a whole lot easier, right? So for sure, it's not something, and I'm not trying to get rich, but it'd be nice to be really comfortable,
Yeah, especially with kids, right?
Right.
Especially with some difficulties the middle class and the economy is going to be facing pretty soon here. So, yeah, I get that. So it sounds like you appreciate, this entrance, this starting career, to your rise up, to you stepping into your power and finding purpose and meaning. But this is only the beginning for you.
I think that's always the grand scheme of things, right? Again, I love where I'm at, and I love the work environment, the specific work environment I'm in. I love everybody I work with. It's amazing to see people come together to try to help somebody, especially when it works and they put the work in themselves. But yeah, I think that at the end of the day, if I'm looking back at myself 3 years from, if I'm looking back past 3 years ago, holy crap, I would have never thought I would have came this far. And I want to hopefully 3 years from now to look and do that same thing, And so I'm just going to go in, and I'm going to stay where I'm at with the thought process and the investment that I'll see it through, because changes are always difficult, and I feel like a lot of times people make really rash decisions without seeing what that could look like. They just kind of jump off the gun, but everybody has to make choices that's best for themselves.
Right.
For me personally,
taking your time and really weighing your options
and seeing what that looks like. And if it's unfeasible, then I got to make the best choice for myself. But if it is and the changes work out, then awesome, And I'll say I would love for that to happen. I would love for it to work out, the latter part of it,
Yeah, I would say, piggybacking off of that, it's good that you want to be sure and secure too, because I would say my transition from being a probation officer, I'm no longer a probation officer. I resigned with the adult probation department. And this was my passion and purpose for years, right? Especially in our treatment court and drug court.
Right.
7 years, I was super passionate about it. It became my whole identity. But I would say about a year ago, I sort of started making a transition to begin to figure out my identity outside of probation. I started my website and started like a pilot project for my business, my online astrology business. I started doing mediumship readings. I started building my platform on TikTok. I was doing all of these things on the side that brought back the fire, the passion, right? So I started feeling this transition, and I had already had like all this stuff in place that I could transition to, and then I went to a drug court conference and went to this psychedelic assisted therapy session, and it just like the light bulb went
Clicked.
off, and I was like, oh my gosh, I want to go back to school.
Right.
This is the path I want to take now. So before I actually made the decision to resign, I had already gotten accepted to ASU's Masters of Social Work program, so I was already going to start school. It wasn't until I started school that I realized it's going to be a lot, because I
Right.
chose the 2-year plan. It's a lot. It's condensed. I have 7-week classes, so it's so much, and then I have agency hours. So I'm feeling that more people are sort of, going through similar transitions. Where they're feeling this need, or, similar craving to transition away from their current careers. And I feel like it's just sort of been this sort of domino effect, because there's been a huge transition with people either moving away from their current careers or positions, or starting a
Right.
whole new career. And so it helped me to make the transition from something that, created my identity, something that I was passionate about for so long. It really helped to do my internal work and overcome my fears. So that way I could know, no matter what, like I started school and then I have all these other side things, like just know to trust the process, and I'll be okay if I take this risk and, resign from my position.
Right.
And so everything did fall into place, but it was like energetically I had already been started making this transition, like subconsciously I knew this
Yeah.
was coming.
Yeah.
So lots of changes.
No, for sure. I think that that's one of the things, and the other shift that I'm having is like realizing the time for myself. Like I've had to pull back because I can identify with throwing myself into my work, and it's just reminding yourself like everything's going to keep on turning with or without you. For sure you make an impact, but
Yeah.
you come first.
Right. Yes. So you coming first, putting yourself first, that's also healthy boundaries too, right? Because, behavioral health, oh my gosh, yeah, no.
Yeah.
It's one of the overwhelmed failing systems that is going to be replaced in the future with like new systems. That's what I feel. Criminal justice also. Like these systems that, that are currently being like completely overwhelmed right now, in the future, after we go through probably a really hard, challenging period, new systems will emerge, and maybe we'll be a part of creating new systems to really help with the increased mental health and substance use crisis.
Yeah. No. Let's see here. That's a hope. Family. There's been some shift there too. Just trying to make things work, trying to do the best I can. I got to see. I showed you videos, but I got to see my first daughter for Halloween. That was awesome.
Yay! Where
That
does
was
she
cool.
live?
She lives in Surprise. There's family stuff going on there too. Just wanted to be a
How are
part of her
you?
life.
How are you handling all of the family stuff? What are you doing for your mental health?
Well, the one thing is like I took PTO for this week. Actually,
Good.
I went off. What was it, last week on Halloween? I didn't go in Halloween. That was so I'm taking this week, whatever. And I gotta thank my site supervisor for giving me the motivation to do it. She was just like, even if you're not doing anything, just take the time.
Yes, take time for yourself, especially because the collective energy, like we were talking about, we could all feel this sort of I don't know,
Overwhelming.
this pending gloom.
Yeah.
It was like this pending something that we all felt this week. I have not been going to bed at a decent hour all week, because I'm like staying up watching the news and keeping up with the election results. And
Well, don't drive yourself mad with that.
I know. So it is motivating me. Like I'm using it as a tool to like I'm embracing the anger. I'm embracing the rage and just like I'm using it as a form of motivation because early on when I really made the decision to change everything about myself and stop depending on relationships to make me happy and seeking validation in other people, I made that internal shift and that internal change mostly because like I was pretty miserable and I didn't love myself at all, right? So toxic cycles and relationships were just like I thought that was normal. So I know now, like from that shift, that was the point where I really started using my anger I was able to channel it, and instead of it like bringing me down or getting me stuck in like other like cycles of pain and suffering, I was able to channel it and use it as a source of motivation. So that's, I mean, with the internal work I've done on my mental health, self care, like daily gratitude, daily affirmations, daily meditations. And meditations have increased so much since I resigned from my position,
Um,
which is good and hard because with that much meditation, it sort of casts this shadow and it triggers all mine and my relationship. It triggers our subconscious fears that we have suppressed in childhood. So now we're continuing to go through this process of like these fears are being triggered, and I know it's because, I'm doing this very, very like diligent meditative practice, but it is all for us to eventually get to the place to where our fears no longer control us. Our fears no longer limit us or restrict us. And so that's what we're going to see on a grand scale now. Like collectively, we're purging our childhood fears, so that way we can come to joy and peace and happiness internally.
do you think that's bringing out stuff like that needs to be addressed?
Oh yes, because God's will for us is happiness. And we are the ones that keep us from reaching healing and happiness because of our fears. It is our
Yeah.
fears. So we have to purge our fears in order to stop limiting ourselves, stop restricting ourselves, and keeping ourselves from true happiness. Happiness is a mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
So
I agree. It's a choice for
so
sure.
yeah, God won't let us, I guess, come back to this place in the present moment with any fears remaining in our subconscious because we deserve eternal happiness, eternal
Yeah.
peace, and it can start here. We can create heaven on earth here, just within
Yeah.
our family, just within our relationship. So, me and my wife, the world's going to be chaotic, especially in our country. There's so many amazing, supportive, loving people from different countries that are filling for us now because they understand we're all connected. And so they're worried about us. Been watching a lot of stories of people, just like talking about how scared they are for us, but they're here to support us and they feel so bad for us. Because yes, it's a collective thing. Whatever happens to our country, affects other countries too. So me and Laura, my wife, we have decided no matter what happens, we have to stay present. We have to hold the light for people that are going to really be going through it. So we got to be brave and we got to be strong. It's gonna be hard, but it's just we know this is what is meant to be for us to eventually collectively purge a lot of our fears, which then results in collectively a new perception where we can come to a place where we can see each other without as much judgment or without being afraid of attacking each other because we will have purged a lot of our guilt that causes us to project that guilt, which causes us to attack each other.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think it kind of like what I was sharing with you earlier. I try to stay, down the middle way as best I can. But at the end of the day, I agree with you that happiness is a choice, and with that, like we were talking about, like having a feeling of impending doom, you can manifest that doom if you're just looking for it. If you're just
Yeah.
like if you train yourself to think like that feeling means something's coming. It's like you're
Yeah,
setting yourself
whatever
up for
you
that.
believe, yes, whatever you believe is absolutely what you experience in your reality. Yes.
Yeah.
So staying present, trying to create heaven here on earth, by staying present, right? Not focusing so much on the chaos and everything that's going on. That will be something that I'm going to probably really start soon, and then just continue to work on going deep into meditation, continuing to go through this purging process, so we can be the light, so we can be the inspiration for those that are going to be starting their spiritual awakening, or they're going to go through a big shift that is going to help them start doing the internal work to change their lives.
I would say, especially for anybody that is listening, when it comes to God, is like if that trips you out, just remember like that could be anything. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, like if you just believe something bigger than yourself, that's all. It could just be that spiritual. You know, it doesn't have to like turn
Absolutely.
into into
Anything.
into a
Yeah.
category. You know, don't paint yourself into a box, because at the end of the day, I know having that belief and at the very least holding on, especially in my early recovery, that there is something bigger than myself, made me see that things happened the way they did for a reason, and to me and my choice and my beliefs, whatever, like there's no way that there isn't a grand scheme at hand. It seems, and if it's me putting in all the work and manifesting it, amen, but if it's something bigger than myself, then at the end of the day, whatever, either way, positive begets positivity. I'm just on that journey. I'm going to go with that
Yes.
flow.
Yes. And love begets love. So my meditative practice, before I go into meditation, I have to feel gratitude and love in my heart for several minutes, repeating affirmations. Like my affirmation this week has been, love is the path I walk in gratitude. So repeat that, feel the gratitude and love in my heart, and do this throughout the day, right? So that's why I think I see so much love being reflected back to me, by loved ones, or previous coworkers, because I am doing the work to stay grounded in the present moment and intentionally feeling gratitude and love in my heart. So that is the frequency that I choose to remain in, especially during difficult times, to just stay strong no matter what's going on outside me. And then I'll continue to experience people, opportunities that show that reflection of love that I'm feeling and putting out into the universe.
I think it's a good that's a good segue into what we're talking about, as well as understanding, if you simplified everything that you were saying into, what I hear is you have two choices you can make, and I've been seeing a lot of stuff where people are like, they'll put a meme up for recovery people and say like, don't let that be the thing that takes you out, or don't let that thing, like, and really it comes down to two choices. Like, I hear a lot of people like say, well, it was this, it was that. But at the end of the day, you have really two choices. You can either say, I give up, I'm going to do this, whatever, and go down that path, or you can just keep going as best you can, and have the faith knowing that like it's just going to work out the way it's supposed to,
Yes. Yes.
And for me, dumbing it down that simple has made it super easy for me to just, whenever I'm over, and then I don't want to sound like, I don't want to sound like it's so easy. It is difficult, especially when you're facing hard times and things are challenging, to not
Remember.
overanalyze things, and
And
not
yes.
go deep into like, well, what if this, what if that, whatever. But it's a practice. It's an exercise to remind yourself, like, okay, all I can do is keep doing what I'm supposed to be doing, keep doing the next choice that's good for me, my family, my choices, and have the faith that it's gonna work out the way it's supposed to, or I can go down the other road.
Yeah. So I think it's really important to highlight having the faith that it's going to work out. Have you noticed when you really can remember to put your mind and your attention to that faith when you're going through something, and you really do remember to just not worry, release the fears, release the worry, release the stress, feeling overwhelmed, you release it, and then you can just feel oh, the faith, the trust that things are going to work out. Have you noticed how things actually turned out after you did that internally?
Yeah, I think that you hit the nail on the head earlier when you're like, what'd you say? You notice that, well, we said it before, positivity gets positivity, right? Positive and positive out. But you start seeing, like we talked about this
Reflection?
past, where it's like, when you're in the depths of your addiction, it's just always negative. There's just always this doom and gloom. It's always something. And I remember like there was this point in time where I was going through DCS. I was still actively using, and I remember like you know, by whatever means I came up on some money, you know, and I told myself like, oh, well, I could do this. I could be still using, still, you know, the craziness in that whole mindset is just, you know, boggles me now. But like at the time in my head, I was like, I can figure this out. And I remember looking at, my partner at the time, whenever I was like, you know, why is it that everything I'm doing, it's always turning, it doesn't matter what I do, it's always something, you know, like where we were trying to get to a visit, the Uber didn't get there on time, you know, it's like, but it was just the negative upon negative upon negative, you know, and at the end of the day, my priority wasn't my daughter, it was the drug. So it's like I was just putting in this, and if you're going to have that mindset, that's what it is. As soon as I had clarity and I started working on myself and I shifted to, all I got to do is just, you know, keep doing the thing, whatever, you know. And there were concerns, there were worries. I had, you know, had all these things about, you know, DCS could, no matter what you do, it could go bad no matter what, you know,
Yes.
even if you did it, you know, perfectly.
Or you're working hard for nothing because no matter what, they're always going to be against you.
Yeah, obstacles came in the way of probation. You know, like there was a false positive at one time. You know, I had a really bad back injury. I had to actually get on pain medication at some point. You know, like there was hurdle after hurdle, but there was the same hurdles when I was in addiction. I just was dealing with it differently. You know, and it was the implementation of, I just got to have faith that this is. I just got to keep doing the next right thing and keep having a positive mindset, keep putting in the work, whatever. And sure enough, and when it gives me chills thinking about it, but sure enough, when you do that, it comes to fruition, and you start seeing like, okay, I was creating this negative dark path. I can create a light path.
Yes.
You know.
Let me give you an example of something I noticed where having faith and how fast it manifested for me a few days ago, and I noticed it. I've gotten to the point where my meditative and my Course in Miracles lessons, I have completely reprogrammed my mind to where I don't have worry about anything anymore. And if I do start to worry, I switch it around right away. So example was, it was raining. When was it? Sunday? When was it
Recently.
raining? Yeah, I think it was Sunday. We had something to do. Me and Laura, we had somewhere to go. And her car was in the shop. We had to get the battery replaced. So we just had my Jeep, and it was raining. And I went to go get coffee or something. But it was raining, and I was like, ooh. Like right when I pulled out my windshield wiper on the driver's side, it started flapping around. So I was like, oh my gosh, like we have to, you know, go on the freeway later today. It's supposed to rain all day. And like, are we even going to be able to drive on the freeway? Because like the flap was just like, you know how when it tears off and it's just
Start
like,
scraping against the window.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, I'm not gonna go on the freeway. And then I'm like, no, I'm always protected. Everything always falls in place for me. Everything is always aligned for me. Everything is fine. So I stopped my fear because I was like gonna avoid the freeway. I was like, no, I'm divinely protected. Everything's gonna be fine. As soon as I got on the freeway, obviously, you know, the rain starts coming in more, and as soon as I got on the freeway, the whole flap just like flew off, and the wiper started wiping completely clear. Like completely clear. There was no more like, you know, like streaks of all kinds
Right.
of water because I could see perfect. Like it was like a brand new windshield wiper. And I was like, wow, I manifested that fast. That was amazing.
Right.
And it was amazing. And all day, yeah, my wiper stayed completely clear. I don't know how
If
when it
just-
ripped it off, like there's another like small layer of, you
Right.
know, of the windshield wiper underneath that then started wiping it super clear. Oh, that's what we had to do. We went to Dia de los Muertos procession. So that was an example of like, okay, like my fear initially came up and was like, no, you should go around, like your wiper's not working. I'm like, no, everything's gonna be okay. And it's like boom, the obstacle was removed.
Yeah.
And it was like in that moment I knew like, okay, yeah, this is how fast we can manifest things, just falling into place for us.
Yeah, I try to remind myself that, especially going through the family stuff and the work stuff, all everything. Like, again, it's just you don't know what that looks like until you go through that hole, you know. And then even then, it's only when you're through that you look back and you say, okay, I had to go through that. Like, you don't know what you don't know until you know it, and you had to go through that to be able to appreciate how you got there. You know, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
You know.
Exactly what America is about to go through, unfortunately. But I'll be here to support everyone because it's not going to be easy, but they don't know what they don't know until they go through it, you know?
Right. I hear you.
But yeah, well, do you want to start with any questions? How much time do we have?
No, we have a little bit of time. I was gonna we can start off with what was I'm bringing up the question that I brought in here. Well, first we were talking about manifesting and energy, right? But like that video that we saw. But then there's also this question I put up here that we could talk about, which was embracing what I thought was failure.
Okay.
Yeah, I can start off with let's see here. When we were talking about that, what addiction is and where it comes from, right? So we could do those two, where addiction comes from and embracing failure, or one of the two.
Okay.
Well, we can start. Let's start with the where addiction comes from because I thought that was really cool. That kind of gave me like some really cool like insight into stuff that I was sharing with you earlier about like where I was at when I was younger.
Okay.
You know, I didn't like you just didn't know what necessarily like I a lot of times my dad would give me like he'd be like you know what you're feeling, that's a strength, you can identify that. But when you're getting like when you're growing up, whatever, you don't necessarily know exactly that it's anxiety or that it's depression or panic. You don't know what that exactly is. You know, you
Right.
just know that like it doesn't feel good. And so this thing that we saw, whatever we're talking about, like addiction comes from you trying to find a solution, and if your solution
To feeling comfort in your body, right?
Right.
Or trying to get relief from that discomfort.
Right,
From the anxiety, the fear, the guilt, the whatever it is.
the insecurity, everything,
All the fears.
Yeah. So, and then, I like the mixture of the two where listening to that and then also implementing the stuff that, I appreciate you opening my mind to is like we do create that fear-based model to where it continues to grow out of control and it just keeps on going down a path until you have insight to see that you're creating it,
Which a lot of people don't even have that awareness that they're creating it with their fears by feeding into and growing and building their fears by believing them and continuing to focus on them.
Yeah. So then so that kind of pulls the two together, going through that process and not knowing what it was, it helps me see like that's what I was looking for a solution, and my solution, the only thing I knew was to use. That's the only thing that was a quick solution. Now, had I had something that introduced me to a solution earlier, for sure, like, identifying, where that's coming from, figuring out what you're trying to hide, what you're trying to bury, what it is that you're trying to numb from.
Right.
But I didn't know that. So, embracing failure. I had to go through all that to be able to figure out how to try to live a more like functional life I had to go through that to be able to deal with the little hurdles I deal with now to understand how to go through it,
Right. And so your awareness of this mindset shift and everything can even benefit and contribute your daughter, because now that you've gone through it and you're saying, I wish I had a different solution at a
Right.
younger age, now we know it comes from, these fears, this discomfort and anxiety, which a lot we inherit from our parents, right? It's a lot of it's genetic. Substance use, our susceptibility to substance use disorder, maybe even the mental health issues, the anxiety, but also not really feeling safe in an environment where our parents are not fully present or whatever the case may be. Now we can really start teaching our kids, listening to our kids also, because they're like really evolved, but teaching our kids like how to find the solution young, and it all starts with their mindset. So once they start acquiring through society, through conditioning, these fears, right? Helping them identify these fears and then replace them. doing affirmations every morning. So you're already programming their little mind to see the best in themselves, to really love themselves and see themselves in the best light possible. So I don't know if I had told you, I had stayed in contact with one of my previous probation officers that got shot and killed when she was on my caseload. I stayed in touch with her mom and her daughter. Her daughter was
Oh,
7
not
at the time.
probation officer, participant.
Probation
E,
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
okay.
a long time ago. So I stayed in touch with her daughter and the grandma, and so I mentor her now. And so, like those are some things that I'm working on with her because I can see like already just like all the trauma and everything, like how much it has just been absorbed and conditioned into like her mindset and her identity already, you know? So practicing affirmations, reminding her to practice affirmations every day. I am smart, I am kind, I am beautiful. Like these are simple things that celebrities do, that very successful, wealthy people do, repeating affirmations, programming their mind to repeat the things that they desire, they want to become, right? So even if our children don't believe that they're smart, you know, helping them practice affirmations. I am smart, I am intelligent. To start programming that, because children are way more powerful manifestors than we are because they believe everything we tell them.
Yeah.
And our beliefs are a reflection, I mean, our reality is a reflection of our beliefs. So starting kids young, that is the solution.
What's a failure that you embraced?
A failure
A,
that I
a failure that you embrace.
failure.
You may not see it as a failure, but it's something that you had to go through that you embrace and you see it now.
I talked about this yesterday on the show I was on with very powerful women. That was one of the questions we actually went over is like, when did we just like realize something had to change?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it was relationships, toxic cycles
Do you have
of.
sorry, is there a link for that? We should plug that.
It is it is StreamYard. I can send you the link so we
We'll
can.
put it, yeah, we'll put it in the
It
thing.
is on StreamYard. It's also on my Facebook.
Okay.
And then I think I'm gonna definitely, so I can send it to you. But
Yeah, yeah.
StreamYard, yeah. So it was me and these beautiful,
Sorry, I didn't mean to go ahead.
powerful queens. And it was about like how to discover who you really are outside of the identity you created within your career. And it's mostly for, you know, women that have retired, but I haven't retired, but, you know, still
Right.
coming away from my career that was my identity for a long time. But like I had said, I had already started making the transition, so it was easy for me. He felt safe and secure to make the decision, even knowing wasn't going to have a steady income. So trusting and having faith, right? But the failure was for me was toxic relationships and these patterns of these toxic attachments and seeking validation in others and relationships because I still didn't know how to love myself. That was my failure.
Do you feel like that? Because that one kind of hit really hard for me just listening to you say that because I think I know the answer to this. But do you? And we talked about this before. Do you see how that was a product of how you were raised and seeing relationships?
Oh yeah,
Right.
I thought it was normal. I mean, I saw my
That's what
mom
love
being
was.
I saw my mom being beat by like all her boyfriends
Right.
and stabbed and almost killed. So,
Yeah.
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 Yeah, so like to me that was normal. It was so weird coming into this relationship now when me and my wife first met and trying to break those cycles because we were
Right.
both in very toxic relationships before we had met, and she was doing better than me at breaking those cycles. And like, no, we can go out and hang out with our friends without our partner. Like that's normal. It's normal to not constantly look at our phones all the time. I'm
Right.
like, that's crazy. I didn't know that was normal, you know?
Right. Right.
Yeah, so yeah, it's crazy because when you do like grow up in that environment and that's all you know, like you don't know what a healthy relationship is, you know?
Yeah.
You think like it's all relationships, everyone fights every day.
Yeah. No. I know
Oh,
because
it's so crazy looking back when you finally see the difference, you know?
when you grow up
Oh
in those
my
patterns, and you like,
gosh.
even when we were talking about before earlier, is like even being parentified, and it's piggybacking on what you're saying about how you're wanting to do better for the next generation. You know, when I started to see, like, if I continue down this path, my daughter's gonna get in the same kind of relationship. She's gonna
Yes,
continue, like you said,
they will continue.
the
Yes.
operative words in there are cycle breaking. Like that's the mindset that I want to try to have into anything. And whenever I start seeing behavior that I don't want to manifest in her, I shut it down.
Good.
And I feel like a lot of times parents, and I know that there's no book on how to be a good parent. And God knows I beat myself over the head with feeling like I'm not the best parent and all that stuff. But I also know that I am a good parent. But
Good.
I think that's a line that any parent walks. But at the end of the day, I think that if you start to accept and see that all they have to model off of is you, then you start to see, okay, well, actually, you can take back power in that dynamic and realize, like, okay, they're,
I can change this.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I can show them how to. So if they're modeling bad behavior or whatever that looks like, where are they getting that? Who are they observing that from? What are they, so
Right,
you
because
have to
they're
take
like little, like,
sponges.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they copy everything you do.
And so when I hear stuff about Celia, and they're giving me good feedback about her being so mature and just being like able to identify her feelings, being very like how she puts boundaries, like, no, like, you're not, I'm like, that makes me proud. It makes me feel like, okay, well, I'm showing her something that's good, something that I didn't know. And it goes back to what I was saying to you about how me being raised, I know my dad just did the best he could with what he knew, and he didn't have a father, so he had me, and he was like, his parenting was more so, you're going to deal with it and figure it out. But for me, that's obviously, in going through that, like you were saying, it's not something that worked out for obviously, and I had to figure it out myself, and I didn't know how to figure it out myself. So
I know.
I can't do that with my girls either. I have to make sure that they understand that they can tell me what's going on. They can, have that conversation, have that relationship support, and understand that I'll help them get through that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing. So it's wonderful to see your transformation and how you are going to continue to evolve even with your parenting style and even learning from the darkness and from your challenges in the past, even from your trauma, right? Because I feel like those of us that have learned from the light and the darkness, I mean, we're unstoppable when we truly, truly learn that internal shift from thoughts that are just
Manifest
consuming us
themselves
with
constantly.
fears, yes,
Yeah.
and changing our thoughts into love. So continue to work on your thoughts of, I am a good parent.
Yeah.
I have right now where I'm breaking cycles, and now we're creating new cycles, new habits,
For
new
sure.
conditioning for my daughter. And you always have right now. Like, even if you make mistakes, don't be too hard on yourself, because there's always a new opportunity to start creating new patterns and cycles with your daughter and manifesting them right now.
Absolutely.
And we have that opportunity endlessly every single day.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're telling me you're going to be visiting nieces. You have nieces and nephews, right? So
Yeah.
it takes a village. They feed off of you too. I'm sure that they get good vibes off of you.
Well, I haven't met one of my nieces, a lot of nieces and nephews. So we
Okay.
have a half brother from my dad's side
Okay.
that I've never met. And so two
Oh,
of his
yeah.
daughters, one lives near Seattle, the other lives in Montana. One of them started reaching out to me and writing me, so I'm gonna go meet her for the first time. And so I was doing her birth chart reading, and she's meant to be famous.
Of course. That's how it
So
started.
I'm gonna help her. Like, our charts together are showing, like, I'm gonna bring a lot of discipline to her so she can get back to the energy and the environment that she needs to be. She wants to be a fashion designer. Her chart has fame all over it.
How did you guys get connected? If you didn't know about it?
I think my brother might have found them on, like, Facebook or social media, and she started writing me because I'm horrible
Yeah.
at keeping in touch with family. I'm like
Yeah.
so, like, disconnected to family. So, like she stayed on top of me and was like,
And now it's turning into a trip. That's awesome.
yeah,
That
and we
is
got
so
to meet her
cool.
for the first time, and she's amazing. I love
That's so
her.
awesome. That's
so
so
I
cool.
want this relationship to be special. Like I want to create now a new family relationship
yeah.
since I didn't have, you know, any really close relationships with any of my family besides my mom and my grandma.
See how the universe comes together to bring you
Yay.
the support that you need. That's
I
awesome.
know.
That's cool.
And I want to co-create with her too. Like she has the ability to do amazing things. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna be famous by 2032. So we're gonna get you there.
Right,
bro.
right.
She's going through a major transit in the next like 2 years, and she's gonna
Nice.
take off with her creativity and spirituality. So I'm pumped for her.
Cool.
I
That's
know.
what's up.
Yeah, yeah. And then so as we heal too, relationships, family relationships start coming into alignment with that healing and with our love for ourselves too. So
Yeah, I don't know exactly what our topic was. I feel like it all came down to just, mindset and manifesting.
I know, which we all need more reminders
For
of.
sure. No, I think it was a good reboot or a good restart because we haven't met in a while. You know what I
I
mean?
know. And now took off my probation officer hat in treatment court. Now I'm moving into the private sector, but
We got you fully invested now.
yeah.
Yeah.
So now I get to be a little bit more free, I would say.
Nice. All right.
So I guess we'll end there. But yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
No, thank you.
Also for your bravery and just always every day doing the work to do better for you and your daughter because you both deserve the world. So I'm glad Celia gets an amazing dad.
I appreciate you, and Des, whether you realize it or not, your energy helps me a lot, dude. It really does.
Good.
Since I first met you, it was just like, I don't know, it was just like this lady. She makes me feel better.
This lady makes me feel old, but I'll take it. This lady.
No, you already know. And so on top of that, when you told me how long you've been in probation, I was like, no way. You already know. I look at you as like someone that just came out of college. I didn't know that you're a probation officer that long. So
Yeah, I guess I am a lady then. I am. I'm just kidding. But thank you. I appreciate it. Even you like staying on me, holding me accountable to keep up with the podcast is helping me too. With my transition and all the changes. So thank you.
Yeah.
I'm excited that you introduced us to Miranda also. She's great.
Yeah, she's awesome.
So we'll come back 3 weeks. Ready?
Sounds like a plan.
We'll end there.
Okay. You want to start your sign off?
Sure.
Okay.
So I just want to remind you that if you are in recovery or you suffer from substance use disorder, that we see you, we hear you, and we are here for you.
And I want to remind you guys to never give up and to always remember you deserve nothing but the best.
Yay!
Awesome.
Okay.
Cool.
Real lives, real struggles, yeah, we grow together. As a community, we only trying to do better. New solutions, we trying to flip the script. We hear you, we see you, please don't ever quit. Don't ever give up, no, you deserve the best.